Hi, my name is Erica. I'm a fifth grade teacher here in South Florida, and I'm just going to be sharing about a couple of strategies that really should be incorporated into the classroom, especially when you're teaching multiplication. So I've been a teacher in Florida for about 4 years now. I've taught third, fourth, and fifth. And in fourth and fifth grade is really where they're learning how to multiply with whole numbers. In fourth grade, they're introduced to a lot of place value strategies, which are new. And in fifth grade is when they're supposed to start using our standard algorithm, which is the way most of us learned how to multiply. But one of the strategies that I found that a lot of my students like to use is the area model. And the reason I like the area model is because it's based off place value. And when you're doing things based off place value, it's kind of answering those questions as to why you're doing what you're doing. Because when you're doing what the area model, you're multiplying with your place values based off what the numbers and where they're sitting in the place value that they're in. So for example, we were doing the area model and we were doing, let's say 43 times 27. So the area model, sometimes called the box, is where students are drawing the box and there's a box for each number. So for the area model, you're going to break apart your numbers by place value. So if I'm breaking apart 43, I'm going to be breaking it into 40 and 3. Because there's 4 10s and there's 3 1s. For 27, I'm going to break it up into 20 and 7. There's 2 10s and 7 1s. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take these numbers and you're going to place them on the sides of the boxes. You can put them on either side. Doesn't really matter where you put them. I'm going to put my 43 at the top and I'm going to put 27 on the side. So then what you're going to do is you're going to be multiplying the boxes. So you're going to multiply from the side to the top. So in this box, we're multiplying 20 times 40. And 20 times 40 is 800. I like to always tell my students when they're multiplying, especially with the zeros, we cover up the zeros. It's kind of hard to see. We multiply and then we add the zeros back at the end. For the next one, we would have 20 times 3. So 20 times 3 is 60. Then we're going to use the 7 now because we've used the 20 twice. We're going to use the 7. So 7 times 40 is 280. Sorry, my lights in my classroom sometimes turn off. And then we're going to do 7 times 3, which is 21. So a big reason that they like to stress strategies like the area model is because they're always going to ask for partial products. So the partial products for this problem would be these numbers. And your partial products are just part of your product, hence the name partial products. Now to find the product or the total product, we're going to take all our partial products and we're going to add them together. So I'm going to take 800 plus 280 plus 60 plus 21. And when we add all of this up, we've got a 1 here, 8 and 2 is 10, 6, 16, 10. We're going to get 1,161, which is our actual product. That's our final product. I found that a lot of my students, especially my students who maybe struggle with math, or maybe sometimes my students with disabilities, this is a really good strategy for them, and they like the strategy a lot better than our standard algorithm. This one takes a little bit longer sometimes because you are drawing the boxes and you're multiplying more. And of course, you have to add at the end. So this one might take a little bit longer to do compared to the standard, but if they're understanding it and they're getting the right answer, I tell my kids, whatever gets you the right answer, I want you to use it. And this is one of them that I would say a lot of my students do choose to use. Now, in addition to the area model, there's also a strategy called partial products. And partial products is very similar to the area model. It's just, you don't really, the main difference is that you're not using a box. That's pretty much the major thing that I see between the two. The box does help some students though. So it just depends on your student. So again, let's do 43 times 27. So with partial products, you're going to multiply, but you're going to have all your partial products lined up right here, and I'm about to show you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the 1. So I'm going to do 7 times 3. So let's see, 7 times 3, and that's going to give me 21. Then I'm going to do 7 times 40, because remember, the 4 is in the tens place, so its value is actually a 40. So we're going to do 7 times 40, which is going to be 280. So now I'm done with the 7 because I've multiplied both numbers. So now I'm going to move on to the 2. But remember, the 2 is not actually a 2. The 2 is a 20 because its value is 20. So now I'm going to be doing 20 times, and I'm going to use the 3. But it is going to be a 3 because the 3 is in the ones place. So 20 times 3 is going to give me 60. And then I'm going to use the 20 again. And I'm going to times it by, I'm not timesing it by a 4, I'm going to be timesing it by a 40. Because again, the 4 is worth, or has a value of the 40. So 20 times 40 is going to give me 800. And then you're going to add all of these up again. Notice I have the same numbers that I did for the area model. And look at that, we get the same answer. So again, here's going to be my product. And here are all my partial products. All these were what we wrote in the box in the area model. Again, partial products is very similar to the area model, except that you're just not writing it inside a box and you're kind of writing it more up and down. And then these are already lined up for you, whereas the area model, you had to take all the numbers and line them up afterwards from the boxes. So I guess that's the two main differences between partial products. But again, another strategy, if it works for your students, I would encourage them to use it. The last strategy for multiplying by place value that I'm going to talk about is going to be the distributive property. This property, I would say, is more so focused in 4th grade compared to really 5th grade. But I did have a couple of students, I did loop with my class from 4th to 5th, and I had students that did like the distributive property and remembered it from 4th grade, and they continued to use it in 5th grade. The distributive property is very similar to when they're going to get into algebra and they're going to be distributing. Sometimes people call it the mooning method, or sometimes they forget what the other name of it is, but I'll show you in a second. But they'll use this in algebra as well. So 43 and 27, again, I'm going to break them up by their place values. So 43 will be broken up into 40 and 3. 27 will be broken up into 20 and 7. So then from here, you're going to distribute, hence the distributive property name, the numbers to the other terms. So let's start with the 40. And you're going to draw your parentheses as well. So since there's 4 numbers, I'm going to have 4 sets of parentheses. So I'm going to do 40 times 20. Then I'm going to do 40 times 7. Then I'm going to do 20 times 3. And then I'm going to do 20 times 3. And then I'm going to do 20 times 40. Oh, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. I'm actually going 7 times 3. Don't mean to put that 0 there. So 40 times 20 is going to give me 800. 40 times 7 is going to give me 280. 20 times 3 is going to give me 60. And 7 times 3 is going to give me 21. Again, these are all the same partial products that I had from the other strategies. And then, as you can probably guess, in order to get your full product, you're going to take all these numbers, add them up, and you'll get the same answer as 1,161 as your final product. Final product, and again, your partial products. In 4th grade, they stress a lot about partial products. And in 5th grade too, they do ask sometimes about partial products. So if they have to find partial products, these would be the 3 strategies that they would have to use. Now, the last strategy I'm going to show is our standard algorithm to multiplying, which is the way most of us learned how to multiply. And most of us probably still use to multiply, and it's the quickest way, but the kids don't necessarily understand why they're doing it, which is sometimes why I don't really like to teach this strategy until later on in the year, because I want them to understand what they're doing first. I want them to understand that they're multiplying by the place values, and that's how they're getting their actual answers. So 43 times 27 again. We have 7 times 3 is 21. We're going to put the 1 on the bottom, carry the 2. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2 gives me 30. Then we put the 0 here. Now, one of the questions the students always are asking is, why do you have to put the 0? Well, you're putting the 0 because now you're technically multiplying by 20. So you have to hold the place. And that's a good reason why using these other strategies will show them that now you're multiplying by a 20. You're not multiplying by a 2 anymore. So we have to have the 0 here. So then if we continue on with our standard algorithm, we're going to have 2 times 3, which is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. We add them up. We're going to get 1,160, which is what we were getting before. Now, this is the product, but these are not considered partial products like the other strategies are. Also notice when I was walking through these different questions and I was multiplying, I wasn't saying, oh, 20 times 3 or 20 times 40. I was using just the regular numbers because in the standard method, you don't necessarily speak the numbers that way. Whereas when you're using the place value strategies like area model or partial products or the distributive property, that's when you're really multiplying by the numbers. So as a teacher who has taught 3rd, 4th, and I'm now in 5th grade, I really think that using these other strategies, at least introducing them and having students know how to use them and understanding the reason behind them is really beneficial. I teach all of the strategies to my students, and then at the end, I tell them they can pick whichever one they feel comfortable with, but I'd like them to know how to use them and why we're using them. And again, the why is because we're pulling them apart by place value. And that's really what we're multiplying. And when we're doing the standard method of multiplying, we're still multiplying by the different place values, especially when we're holding the 0, when we're multiplying a 2-digit by 2-digit number. So I would encourage you to use these strategies in your classroom, and I hope this video helped. Thanks for watching.